Oh, I'm streaming on the wrong YouTube. Cool, that makes sense. So also I'm streaming on GitLab Community Coders for work, and that's the one I accidentally started streaming on. It's no problem at all. That's fine. So okay, cool. So what we're doing is yeah, we're planning out this game. So I really want to get started with the card design, so I'm just going to start making components, and then we can make some designs. Okay, so we have a player's deck which has cards remaining. These will be face down, so we might want to create like a face down component and then stack them on top of each other. The way it worked here was it's really just one card, and then I think we just show like a border to the card when they're stacked. Oh no, we just overlay them, so that's fine. But when they're overlaid, they don't seem to have a background picture. So we can do the same again, that's fine. Oops. But yeah, the hand is the one I really want to make. So the hand should be wide and each card should be viewable. So we're going to try to do that. So these are the examples of cards. I just wanted to have them listed out differently, which hasn't worked. So let's fix that first. See if we can make this smaller. Great. My picture's covering up a lot of the game board, but that's okay. We'll move it. You might need to remind me to move it back. Okay, so what we're doing here is we have the application. Now, in the application, we're splitting the deck. So what this means is before the game starts, so we could do something like v if game started here, and then if the game has started, we want to show the game. If the game hasn't started yet, then don't show the game. Excuse me. That's the idea for the future. But for now, we're just going to define what cards are in both the player's deck and the opponent's deck within the app component. We're just going to do a mock one because this is a brand new project. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pass these to game, and in game, what we do is we pass the deck to either the opponent side or the player side. Now this is working in terms of like we have cards remaining, but we don't list them currently. I want to know, should we be listing them or what are we doing? So yeah, I think we can just get rid of this actually. So now we have player's deck and cards remaining. This is an opponent's deck. We're going to do the same here. And we're going to also make some shared components so that so that we can be updating one component for both, right? But I'm going to do that later. For now, I'm just going to do it in one. So we'll focus on the player, and then we'll focus on the player, and then oh my gosh, my words are struggling today. Okay, so we're going to focus on the player. We're going to build it out, and then we'll work on the opponent's side, and we'll reuse the same same components. So this is going to change. These names are going to change, and we want them to be a lot better. Yeah. we're just going to use, oh my gosh. Yeah, this is terribly designed because I designed it in ChatGPT. It's ChatGPT's shitty design and my terrible prompt. I just wanted something to get us running. So, okay, in the player's hand, we're not going to do an unordered list of cards. We're going to do we're going to have a face-up card. So the reason why I say face-up is some cards in this game are going to be face down, some cards are going to be face up. So what we could do is we could create a card component that says if it's face up or face down, and then we have one component that we use for anywhere. I think that works best. So we're going to create this new component called card. Also, we're going to need to sort these into folders at some point, but not today. So we're going to use opponent side to as a template for the card, because it already has information about the card in it. Yeah, we don't have any stylings for this yet, and it's just this part. So at the moment it's just going to be like a line item that says the name of the card for now. Let's just try to get that working, and then we'll see what happens. So one of the props is going to be is face up, which is a type of boolean. It won't be required, false, and we're going to assume that it's, I don't know, it's going to be more often true or false. I think we want default to be true. I don't really know if it makes a difference having default as true or not, like if there is a rule. So yeah, I'm just going to leave it as is. We'll also need like card details, but considering it's already in the card, we might just call it details. Yeah, so it's not quite details. We're going to have a few things here. One is the title of the card. One is the image of the card. One is the description of the card. The image should probably be like a background. And then the third thing should be the action that this card does. One of the things that I learned from the last game that I want to fix is I want to have the action information for each card, like what do you do on your turn. I want this to be stored in the card, and the reason for that is because when I was making the original, one of the difficulties I had was the number of possible turns that an AI had to consider. So if you're considering what to do with your if you're considering what to do with your game, like, okay, it's my turn, what turn am I going to play? The problem is, I'll show you. Okay, the game breaks if both players pass. Fine. The game has some problems, that's why I'm not working on it. I'm just rebuilding it. So if we have the marker in the empire, like this, and then we're attacked. Okay, I want to lose this just to show you. So now what happens is so we're counting my available turns, right? My available options. One option is I could, yeah, it's my turn, so I can move the marker into the empire, which seems to be broken at the moment. Fine. Okay, that's one option. I can use the knight to attack the town hall. I could use each of these to attack the town hall. if they, for example, have a market as well, now it doubles the amount of turns that I have the option to take, because I can attack any one of the opponent's empire. So what I want to do is limit those options, and I also want to build in the logic into the card itself. So then what happens is we can add more cards later, and the game still works, and it doesn't need to be remade. All the information should sit in the card. So what I want to do is I want to define the title. I want to just define the stats. I want to define the image, maybe a description, and I also want to define the action. What does this do? So for now, we're just going to create one type of card, and it's going to be like a base, I don't know what to call it, like a basic unit, and then it will have like a set attack and defense. It'll be the same, and it's going to grow by 1 for each level. So we might also need to build in like a when you're building your deck, what is the maximum number of like points you can do, you know, like what's the maximum strength of your deck. Okay. Cool. Alright, so that's why I'm doing it this way. So one thing I need is the is it face up. We also need the title, but I'm going to put them into details. So details is going to be a type object, and it's going to be required true. Why is this not okay? Oh, fine. So details is an object, and it is required. In the object, I'd expect to see, which I'm not going to write explicitly, but for example, no, I'm going to leave the example. So in the line item, we're going to have, at the very least, the title, right? So let's just get the title running. Details dot title, and we're going to put it in 2 curly brackets because it we're not typing it as a string. We're accessing the variable name. Okay, so this isn't rendering because card does not have a closing tag. Also, card is not imported in, so this is the props, but we also need components, and in components we need card, and then so we also need to import this. So now it's registered and imported. Cool. Seems to be a problem, but I don't know what it is. We can inspect and look for the console error. Oh great, you can't find title. Yeah, that's fair enough because it doesn't have one. So for card, we're going to pass the details of the card, which is the okay. So at the moment we just have the deck, and we need to be able to move the cards from the deck into cards. So maybe what we can do is we can do a like a V4, and we're going to show each card that we have in the player's hand, which should be nothing to start with. Okay, I can't remember how to do a V4 in view. I should, but I don't. Great. So like this. So we're going to make a list item for each for a list. So a card for each of the items in item. So this would be cards or items in player hand. So for each item in the player hand, we're going to do a card, and the details will be equal item, and we're also going to have is face up to be false. So in order to use the variable, we have to put the colon before details and face up. Okay, it has a problem. That's fine. The UI element, UL unordered list element represents a list of items where the order of the items is not important. That is, where changing the order would not material change of the document. Fine. And then we're making a card which has no end tag. Right? And then just to be very clear, we have the line item here. So this should have nothing in the hand, which is correct, because the cards in the player's deck, but it's not cards in the player's hand. Okay, warning. Property player's hand was accessed during the render, but it's not defined in the existence in the instance. That's fair enough, because we haven't defined it. So in the player hand, player side, we're checking for player hand. Now I think player hand is going to be defined in. So the way it works in boardgame.io is we have a game object and we have a context object. So and they're shared with all of the application using something like React context is similar to. So in this case, we're going to have player hand will be in this game object, so it'll be referenced in the context of the whole game. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to define this game state here, and I'm going to pass it to everything for now. So when we're doing a prop in view, we need to separate with a dash. We also need to do a semicolon. So game state, we're going to pass game state. Again, later, we're going to do that via some kind of context, but for now, we're just going to share it everywhere, and then we can access it in each of our components. So the game state has a player hand and it has an opponent hand. Okay, so this should be a smaller case, and then so now when we are in the player side and we want to know like what is in the player hand, what we can actually reference is the game state dot player hand. So now when we open this, we should have less problems. Cannot read details unidentified player hand. In player side. So we haven't defined game state as a prop. But same as the deck, we're going to have game state. It's required and it's an object. In addition to that, I think the deck is going to be stored in the something else. The deck is also going to be stored in the game state, I think. So if we put if we remove the deck from game, player deck and opponent deck, instead of being props, okay, sorry, they are props, and so the way it works is app controls the player and opponent's decks, because we want to be able to define this beforehand. Then the game state initializes the player deck as the player deck and the opponent deck as the opponent deck, and then we're passing deck as game state dot opponent deck. Instead, we're just going to pass game state, and we don't even need to pass this, because we're passing we're just checking if it is the player's turn or not. Right, and since we want one state, and we only have 2 players, we know we're only going to have players, we're going to add another game state called is player turn. Okay, so this player turn we're going to change to is player turn, because it's a boolean. It should have been called that from the start. So now we have is player turn, defaults to true. You know, maybe when we start the game it should be randomized whose turn it is, but for now it's always going to be the player's turn. And then in the player's side, instead of getting these props, we're just going to read them directly from game state. So we don't need is turn anymore, and then instead of this we're going to have game state dot players deck dot length. I think it's called players deck or player deck. And it should be lowercase to start. And then we're going to have game state here. So for now, for now we don't need this. These are a bit confusing, because we just want to build it out as I want to build it out to be as complete as possible, so then when we okay, there's a few problems here. Okay, fine, I just needed a refresh, that's alright. Okay, so for now the opponent's hand, we're just going to ignore this part, we're just going to focus on the player's hand. I'll move my camera back. Yeah, we don't need this console. It's too big. Okay, so in our code, the next step I would like to do is, so on the player's side we have the player's deck, cards remaining. I'm tempted to split this out now, I don't know whether to or not. So in the original game it wasn't split out, and this did cause a problem where neither player or both players could get no city cards, and if you have no city cards you have to pass, and if both of you have no city cards then you're a bit stuck, right? So the options is you have one deck and you risk the chance of getting stuck, and if you get stuck then you know, you can just keep picking up cards, I guess. You can make a rule like, if you have a city card you must play it, and then we can tell if the opponent has one or not. Yeah, it's okay. Um, but it'd be better if we just had one deck. So the other alternative is maybe you only get city cards. So if you start the game, you pick up 5 cards, they're all city cards, then you could just play them all. And then it might be game over, right? Because you can't defend. And maybe you'll already win. So I guess, this is some choosing that you have to do by yourself to say, are you gonna... Oh, thanks so much for the follow, Agatal. I set up alerts, but I didn't get one. Well, anyway, thanks for the follow. Strange. I want to fix this. Sorry, I just want to fix the streaming notifications. I'm real new on Twitch and still trying to work out how it all works. Okay. I can hear a notification and I don't know where it's from. So if you're trying to contact me, that's fine. Alright, it's fine. Whatever. Thanks for the new follow. Okay. So, we're now displaying each card in the player's hand as a card. And the details, I want to do the same thing in the Empire. Is face up should be true. You should be able to see your own cards. And since face up is true by default, we can just leave it off. Right? Same for in the player's Empire. We're going to have the same thing, but we're going to have player's Empire. I'm going to stubbornly stick to the word Empire here because the game is called Empire of Cards, and I think it's clever. So, yeah, too bad. Okay, so we have a deck, we have an Empire, we have a hand. What I'd really like to do is be able to click on the deck, put cards into the player's hand as if you're picking up cards, and then you can play them in the Empire, or you can attack or defend. But we probably should work out this rule first, and because we want to do it sort of iterable, let's start with one deck, and player starts with 5 cards. It's just so rules, player starts with 5 cards in hand. So if the player starts with 5 cards in the hand, and then we have one deck for both units and Empire cards. Unit and Empire cards, right? So this is how we're going to start it. So in the so the way we need to do it is let's just have, for now, if you click on the player's deck, you get a card into the player's hand, right? Because I'm not planning this out very much, I'm just going to like freestyle it, and we'll sort it out later. This way of working generally works pretty well for me, but yeah, you're welcome to ask questions as we go. Okay. So, I need a notification to say if it's my turn or not. Yeah. Oh my god. There's so much work to do. There's so many things to do here. So let's try to make it as simple as possible. Okay, so for the we also need something to say end turn and whose turn it is. Yeah, I might also use ChatGPT for this because I'm trying to rely on ChatGPT as like for the shitty designs I need. They don't need to be good designs, but there need to be some designs, and I find it so stressful to start a design that it's way easier to just going to do this. I wonder if I could do it in view. Oh, that has a prop. Component for a game in view that has a prop to tell us if it's the player's turn or not, and a button with an action to end the turn. I don't know how this is going to go. We're just trying it. This is pretty good. Look at that. Yeah, great. It's a good start. I mean, there's no styling. Okay, let's read it properly. So, it's saying it wants a component called turn control. A boolean prop called isPlayerTurn. That's good because it's named the same as what I named it. Means it must be doing well. The prop indicates if it's the player's turn. A button, when it clicks, it triggers an action to end the turn. This action can emit an event that the parent component can listen to, and this is how the component in view might look. Cool. I like this a lot. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make a new component called, what did it suggest we call it? Turn control. And we're going to copy the code and we're going to put it in the right format that we prefer, so it's in line with everything else. You can also have its stylings in there. In the parent component, we'll do something like this. That's cool. We need that. So, that's a good point. These should be named like this. I forget this in view so often. Player dash side. Okay. So now we can register turn control as a component. Okay, so now we're importing turn control and we're displaying it after the battlefield, and the turn control will have an input of player turn and a method to say that the turn is ended. It's going to have a button that says if it's player turn, we're going to have a button to say end the turn. I just want to see this rendered, see if it works. Cool, look at that. So in fact what I want to do is I want to have okay, fine, I want to have a button if the turn ends, but I also want to say like whose turn is it, right? So maybe we can have just a paragraph tag here, and we're going to say like it is the player or computer turn, right? So we're going to say if player turn is true, then we're going to output player. So I think hang on, if player turn is true, then we should output player. Otherwise it should be opponent. It is the opponent's turn. Okay, now we know it's the opponent's turn, and they will end their turn automatically, so that's fine. And then when we start this game, right, we should have in the game state, it should be the player's turn first. So your boolean value, okay, it should be game state dot player turn. Actually, let's just give it the game state like everything else. You don't need to give it more. Come on. Alright, so in the turn control, we're going to have a prop called game state. And it's an object, and it is required. It has a method to end the turn. So now we have game state dot is player's turn. Okay, so it's saying it is the player's turn, and for this we're going to have game state dot is player's turn, and you can end your turn. So if we press this, then we're emitting an event called end turn. So on click we end turn, and then in the game itself, what we want to do is we want to say we want to have a method that's called like handle turn end. Yeah, cool. And what it'll do is it'll change this dot game state dot is player turn should be equal to false. So now we can end the turn, and it's the opponent's turn. Great. That's all we want right now, because what that means is we can have is we're going to assume it's the opponent's turn. While it's the opponent's turn, we're going to have the opponent making moves. While it's the player's turn, we want you, the player, to make moves. So yeah, cool. Okay, so the next thing I want to do, we want to refresh. We want it to be the player's turn. We want to be able to click on the player deck and pick up cards, right? So in the player side, this is going to be player's deck. So we're going to have a let's make this into a new component, which will be deck, deck area or deck. I think deck. And in a deck, what we should have is exactly this, right? We should have the title, and we should have a picture of the cards remaining, and then the cards remaining. So let's remove this and we'll put it in a new component called deck. So I'm just going to make a new component and copy the details from card. So in deck, it's going to have properties of cards remaining and whose deck this is. So one option we have here is we can pass the entire game state to the deck and it can read how many cards are in the deck. Okay. Or we could just pass it as a number because it doesn't need to be very smart, and I think I'd prefer to do that. So we'll say cards in deck, and we'll say we need a title, which is like player's deck. So maybe we just need like name of owner of the deck. Maybe a player's name, and then it's just going to be opponent or player. Deck name. We can just call it name in that case. So name is a string. It is true. And it doesn't have a default. Okay, and we have cards in deck, which is a number. They're also true. And then in the player side, now we can take this area, we'll cut it actually. And this will be like the name, and this will be cards in deck. But we want to take this this information because, oops, cancel, don't, because I want to pass this on to the deck. So I think it was called cards in deck is equal to this, and then we need the colon. So in addition to this, we need the name, which would be player. And this is just going to be a string, so no colon. So now we have a deck, which is not a registered component. Oh my god, come on. Import deck from deck. Again, I'm not being careful about the layout, I'm not being careful about the git commits, I'm not being careful about anything at the moment. My only goal right now is to get some version of this game running. I want to be able to play it in the shittiest possible way. So that requires us to have these things. Okay, so now we have a player's deck, and we can reuse this component on the opponent's side to just say opponent's deck. But we're just focusing on the players at the moment. We have player's empire, we have cards, player's hand, cards. I think that's probably fine. Yep. Yeah, I like this because we're not passing too much information around. I think it's okay. Alright, so what do I want to do next is click on the deck and move the cards from the deck into the hand. So to do this, I want to do this on the player side, right? So I want to have a method Oh, great. Look at that. Play card. And if you play a card, it takes that card and it emits play card and it passes the card. That's pretty cool. I'm going to keep that. Thanks. What's doing that? I think it's code suggestions from GitLab. Let's hope it is. I mean, it says it's working, so it must be, right? Cool. So code suggestions from GitLab is it's like GitLab's Copilot competitor. Maybe don't quote me on that. Alright. So I want a method, and I want it to be move card into hand. Okay, so yeah, I mean, fine, great. Also, this is going to be useful. Right, so we want as few options as possible, right? So we want to be able to play the card or move the card, right? So the options we have is we can move the card from the deck to the hand. We can then move the card from the hand to the empire, or we can move the card from the hand to an action, right? So the action will be attack if it's your turn, defend if it's not your turn. Yeah. So maybe we can also just have an action card that, like, if you have an empire card and you action it, it just means you move it into the empire, and that can be listed as a on the card itself. So we can have play card as one. We also need move card into the hand. We probably don't need move card into the empire because it's going to be covered by play card. Okay. So instead of instead of move card into empire, it might just be like draw card, right? Because you're drawing it from the deck into your hand. I think that's going to be easier to understand. Draw card. We're going to change this event as well. Draw card. So on click of the deck, so the way we do that is we say at click equals draw card. So when we click on the deck, it's going to do this. So we'll check to make sure it works. Come on. We don't need to give it, we're just drawing a card. We don't need to specify which card because it's going to be the top card off the deck, right? So let's check to make sure this works, and it should just give us a console test whenever we click on the player's deck. Great. So that works. So instead of just doing test, we want it to emit draw card. So we might need to say, like, who's this coming from? Is it from the player or is it from the opponent? Now in draw card, I guess we could have a prop to say, like, whose side is this? Opponent's side or player's side? And then we could reuse the whole thing, right? Let's try that. So it might be called player, it might be called user, but we want it to mean either player or opponent. We can say is player because we only have two sides. It might be okay. Yeah, I really want is what I really want is shit. Sorry. Right, so we're gonna say, is this the player or no? And if it's the player, and we do player draw card, we wanted to say like this dot is player. So we want to tell the parent that the child is saying draw card, and we have a prop of like who's playing. Is it the player turn? Which, yeah, I think we can just pass this. That's gonna work because we're gonna say like draw card and then pass. Is it the player or not? And then when we handle draw card in the parent, we're gonna name it is player essentially. It's not super important at the moment. Yeah. So what we want it to do now is we want to go into the game and we want to say on player side we want to listen for an action called draw card, and on this action we want to I don't know, handle draw card, I guess. So when we handle the draw card, we want to take either the player deck or the opponent deck. So we'll say we have a prop called is player, right? And what we want to do is if is player. Look at that! Oh my gosh, how cool! If it is the player, what we want to do is take the game state, play a hand. We're going to push this game state player deck pop. That's so fucking cool. This is doing exactly what I wanted it to do. So it's taking this array, it's taking one item from it, and it's adding it to the player hand. So now, if we click on this, maybe it'll just magically work. Let's see. So we refresh the page, it doesn't work. That's fine. I didn't really expect it to. I was just excited. So when it hears draw card, it's going to do draw card, right? Shit. This is some pretty basic view knowledge that I should know, but I rarely deal with things like this. Oh, that's because no, I'm not handling the draw card. Look at that. How about now? No. Yeah. Now? No. Alright, that's fine. Let's try to listen for a console log. Drawing card, but I want to know like, are you passing me through is player? So now we can inspect it, we can listen on the console, and what we should hear is like, we should hear here, we're listening for this draw card, and when we hear draw card, we run draw card, and it would say is player, and we're getting false. It should be the player, because we're clicking on the player's side. So let's work out what is happening wrong here. So on the player side, so we're listening for a boolean of is player, which is required. So we can check the game again. We get player side. This is required and it's not here, so that's why it's not there. I can't remember what it is. Is player boolean required true, right? So is player ah oh my gosh, I want it to be code, not a string, but I want it to be a boolean. So then we say is player true. So now when we click on this, we get true, and we also remove a card from the deck, and we remove a card from the deck. Great, and now it still works, but it's not doing anything. Now we have a few errors to fix. If you've only just joined, welcome. My name's James. I usually work on GitLab on my normal day job, streaming, because it's open source, but it's my day off, so I'm rebuilding this game. It's called empireofcards.com. It's a really terrible user interface, so I'm rebuilding it in Scratch. I'm building it in Vue. It was previously built in React and using boardgame.io. I'm using it in Vue because that is the framework that I now work in every day, and I also thought it'd be useful to show people how Vue works on a slightly smaller scale rather than GitLab. Alright, so the problem we're dealing with at the moment is when we click on the card deck, we move a card from the player hand to the player deck, which is, no, sorry, the other way around, from the player's deck to the player's card, which is exactly what we want to do. But it's not showing in the player's hand. So now we're going to investigate this. So failed to resolve component card. Okay, that's definitely the problem. So we created this component called card, and what we're doing is for every item in the player hand, we're going to show the details of that item. But let's read this. Failed to resolve component card if this is a native custom element, blah blah. I think we didn't import it properly, maybe. Yeah, look, it's just missing from our components. It's also going to complain because we didn't give it the right props. You see, it's not doing anything. Let's remove this console log from game. Oh, we know that's working. And then in the player's side, when we render a card and we look at the details of the item, if we look at card, we can see what the details we expect it to have is. And at the very least, we want a title. So we can update this the application to have cards that have, instead of just a string, it should have a title of that string. We're going to put the same in both players' decks, like this. Yeah. Alright, cool. So now if we click here, we still don't have it, but we should get a list in the player's hand. We've got some errors here, so let's work through the errors. Okay, so extraneous non-emit event listeners, turn ended, will pass to a component but could not be automatically inherited because the component renders the fragment or text nodes. If the listener is intended to be a component custom event listener only, declare it using emits option at turn controls. Okay, so let's look at turn controls. Let's remember that ChatGPT wrote this, not my fault. So if we click the button, we get end turn, right? And then on end turn, we emit turn ended. If the listener is intended to be a component custom event listener, declare it using the emits option. Okay, I don't know what that means. Okay, we can search for this and try to find more information on this error. Okay, this is pretty similar. Oh, look at that. I think you need to define emits in your component. What? Is this real? Set up emit. That's weird. In view 3, you would do the following. What the fuck is that? I've never seen that. Huh. Okay. So apparently we need a emits turn ended. Does that get rid of our errors? Oh, this is not the right one. That's an old game. So we're just going to refresh. Okay, we don't get the error anymore. That's cool. Alright, I guess we need to do that in view 3, right? So where else are we doing one of these clicks? Somewhere else? Player's side. Draw card. Okay. Oh, there should be dash, huh? And I guess the other one should be as well. Turn dash ended. And then in the player side, when we listen for turn ended, no, that's in the control. So in the game, when we listen for turn ended, we need a dash. That's fine. Cool. Look at that. How pretty. What's this? The keyword search field cancel button specified to appearance, but it'll be removed in the future. Alright. Okay, what I want to know is why is the card not displaying? Why don't we get the card displaying? So are we getting details from the player's side? So on the player's side, in the player's hand, we have each card coming in as details, right? So in the card itself, maybe what we could do is just see, are we getting the props? Yeah, details is not defined. Failed to load because syntax errors. Yeah, I didn't really think that would work anyway. What if we just show the details, the whole object? It doesn't show anything. Alright, it's not rendering anything at all. So if we look in the player's side, we should see card. For each item in GameState.playerHand, and if we look in the game, is the GameState.playerHand. Oh, it had a capital. How frustrating. Oh, look at that. So now we can move the cards into the hand. Well, that's cool. Great. Well, I'm going to take a quick toilet break. So I'll be right back. Welcome back. Okay, so where are we at? Alright, so we're now displaying the title cards of the hand in the player's hand, right? What I also want to be able to do is click on a card itself and move it into the Empire or attack. So one of the things I want to get rid of is previously was specified what part of the Empire the player is going to attack, right? I want to attack this city. One way maybe we can simplify this, we can say, okay, so I'm attacking a player's city and they lose. They need to forfeit one of their cards. Up to them which card. I guess, why not? Doesn't really matter at this point. That kind of rule will be changed later, and it's going to make it way easier for us to do, because each card is either going to be an Empire, so if you click on it, it'll go into Empire, or you click on it and it'll go to attack. So then what we want to do is we want to say on the card component, if you click on a card, it should do the action from that card, right? So we can either do that in the component itself or in the parent component, which is player side. So player side controls the player's hand. So what we can do is we can put a like a click on here. We can do a click on here and send it to the parent, which I think is probably going to be easier. At click, what we want to do is we want to run a method of play card. It's already there. We've already got some of it. Play card, and we want to tell it the details of the card. So let's see if this will work. Instead of card, will have item dot action or card. So the action should be defined on the card in the details, and it should say what does this action do when you click on it, right? So it could say it moves this to attack, or it moves this to Empire. And the reason why I want to do that is because what I want to say is when we move the card to the Empire or to the action, or to the attack, it might have specific like abilities. So yeah, I don't know. It's either going to move, the abilities are going to be read when it's in the playing position anyway. So I guess all it needs to do is, when we play a card, doesn't need to say like that. We just need to know the type of card. Action. The type of card is either Empire or unit, right? So play card. We need to know the ID of that card, so we can move that specific ID. And then we need to know where we're going to move it to. Okay, so there's two things. Yeah, maybe we need ID. So we're going to have a list of cards in the player's hand. These cards can be a mix of cards. So you can have maybe like 2 barbarians. So we want to know which barbarian did you pick, and is that important? Because I guess if you have 2 barbarians and they're exactly the same, doesn't matter which one you choose, right? I want to replace the word barbarian with warrior. Sorry. Yeah, okay. So we play the card, and what play card does is, if it is an empire card, it goes into empire. So we could say details or item.type. And in item.type we expect empire or unit, right? So now we can add these on the app itself. So we want to have, so we have a title, of course, and we want to have type is equal to unit. And so type is a unit or a empire. So actually we could probably say like is unit, right? Is a unit true? This way it limits us to only have 2 types of cards, but I think we only need 2 types of cards, and maybe it's going to be easier with a boolean. I think. If you have opinions, I'm here for it. Let me know. So we're just going to add this to each of our cards. Okay, and test is false. I'm going to call it wall. It's the most basic sort of empire unit you can have, wall. You know, it should be blocking your attacks, you know, like maybe adds 1 defense or whatever. We haven't defined the cards yet, we're going to eventually. So now we withdraw the cards, we have a wall. That's funny. Yeah. Oops. Okay, so then when we click on the wall, we should action it, and if it's a unit, it goes in the action card, and if it's a not a unit, it goes in the empire. Great. So need our code back. We're getting an error as well. Component emitted a play card, but is neither declared in the emits nor as a unplay card prop. Yep. So that's here, these ones. So what we want to say is this this component also emits play card, right? So it emits draw card and it emits play card. So now it should be fine. We're not getting errors at least. It's not, you know, it's not doing anything, fine, but we're not getting an error at least. Okay, so now we're going to listen for play card. Okay, so if you draw the card, we can tell if it's the player or not from the props. It doesn't need to know on the card itself, right? But on the play card, we want to know, is it the player? Who's playing the card? And we want to know what the card is. So I think we actually might need to do this in an object to say is player and card. Yeah. I think it needs to. I'm not sure. So we need to know like what the card title is. Maybe we can just go off title and then we can move that. We also need to know, is it a unit? Or it's going to say in the card. Yeah, we can just give all of the details. We can pass all of the details when we say play the card, and then we can check what is the card. Yeah, that's better, because then if we want to put it like a modal or something to be like, are you sure? Then we can access all the details. So we'll say card details. We could just say card, huh? That's okay. So on click, we draw card, and this draws the card. On click for card, we play the card. So we need on click, instead of draw card, it's going to be play card, and we're going to ask for the card details, like that. Oh, that's an empire. Yeah, we've already done this, and it's exactly the same. How frustrating. Alright, fine, whatever. So we need to find play card, and we're going to do it in game, the same place as we do draw card. So where are we handling draw card? This one. So now we want to handle player card. Handle play card. Yep. Cool. So we get is player. We also get card details. Right. So what we're doing here is we get an object, and we're taking from that object is player, and we're taking from that object card. So if it's the player, what we want to do is we want to look in the player's hand for the card. We want to identify the card in the player's hand, and we want to remove it from the player's hand, and we want to place it in attack, right? And if the computer's done it, we also want to take it from the computer's hand and do the same thing. So one thing I need to know here is if it's the player, we want to take it from the player hand. If it's not the player, we want to take it from the opponent hand. So one way we could do this is instead of player, we could say like where it's coming from. So then if we count where it's coming from, then it might look like something like origin, and then oops, what the shit. So if we know the card's origin, then we could do like game state. instead of this, we'll have origin. So then origin will either be player's hand or opponent hand. And then what it's going to do is it's going to find the card and remove it. So it's going to find the card and it's going to remove it. How do we do that? And is this the right way to do it? I'm not sure. Okay, cool. Well, let's Google it. So, if you just joined me, what I'm doing is I'm working on rebuilding empireofcards.com. This is empireofcards.com. It's very terrible. Please don't play it. But it's a card game I made during COVID. And what I want to do is recreate it in Vue. So this is using boardgame.io, which is a super useful game engine platform for board games. I'm not using it. I'm going to build everything from scratch, partly as a learning exercise, partly for fun, and partly because I want to do it in Vue. I might also use Ruby on Rails as a backend. I got it started to set up, but I really only do front end. So yeah, this is what it looks like at the moment. At the moment, we refresh the page. You can take cards out of the player's hand. What I'm working on now is you should be able to click on a card and it'll either go to attack or it's going to go to the Empire. Either way. So, one of the things I want to know is we could have the origin, or we could say who the player is. This is only going to be designed for 2 players, the human player and the opponent, which will be a bot. So if we say play card, we can say where are we playing it from. But it's only either going to be the player hand or the opponent hand. So yeah, I think it's easier if we just say, this is a little bit fancier, but I think it's easier if we just say is player. If it is the player, we want to take from the player's hand. If it's not, we want to take it from the opponent's hand. And what I want to do here when we say take it, what we're going to need to do is we take this array, we're going to have to find the card. So I think what we might need to do is find the title. So yeah, it's going to be card. So oops, how about that? That's pretty good. So the card ID should match the card ID, but we're going to have title. I'm going to rename this item because it has the same name as card. So for each item in the player hand, we're going to look for the title, and if it's the same as the card title, then we're going to remove it, right? Remove or find and remove item from array. Whoa, why do we go here? Just want Stack Overflow. This is pretty straightforward. Okay, so this works. So we have an array. We look for the index of 5. If the index is less than -1, we only splice the array if it is found, so we get -1 if it's not found. And then what we want to do is we want to splice the index, and we want to take one item out. Yeah. Oh. This seems a lot. That's a good question. Okay, so now we're edited. This is the more up-to-date version. there might be an even more up-to-date version. Let's have a look. Why don't these have timestamps on them? I think splice is what we want anyway, because so we want to take it out, but we also want to put it somewhere else. Okay, so removing the item from the old style, removing item in the new style, filter, fuck that. Filter's not going to work because it's going to remove every item out of it. This is 3 and 3. I don't want that. I want it to delete one item. Nah, that's messy. I'm just going to do splice. Yeah, I'm just going to take this first answer, because what it does is it checks to see if the index is more than 1 and then splices it. So let's, well, do we have to check? Because it's never going to be, it's never going to not be there, because you have to click on it, right? Anyway, index of okay, so now we have an index, and if that index is more than -1, we splice it. So I wonder if we splice, does it also give us the card that we removed? I would expect it to. Let's check. Removed card is equal to, and now what I'd like to know is, please console log it should be the other way around, but that's fine. And then we'll also have a look at the array, which is this. Okay, so now we should be able to see in our game, if we remove the cards and then we click on the card, wall should go to the empire. It doesn't do anything, nor does any of these. So okay, let's, so we want handle play card is player. Okay, that's very confusing. I should have got some errors when I clicked on that, but I didn't, so strange. Okay, so we also need to do this. We need to listen for play card. Right? Maybe that's what we're missing. Why does it empty the... Oh, if we're clicking on this, it's running the wrong thing. Handle draw card should be handle play card. Okay, now it should work. Well, it shouldn't have the same problem at least. Okay, cool. So now we're running handle play card. We can run the debugger here and see what we're getting. So now it's going to pause in the debugger. We're going to be able to see the player and the card details. Okay, cool. So this is, yeah, okay. This is the object that we want. It has a title and it has is unit, right? So we also get player is true. So then we check, is this the player? So we can step through this line by line. So if it's the player, which is true, then we get the index. Once we have the index, which is -1, okay. So we need the item to have the same title as the card number. So the player's hand wait. Okay, so what I'd like to know is card.title is equal to wall. But what is this game state.player hand? Game state.player hand. Oh. Okay, so it's an array of one item, and it's the wall. So the title is the same. So if we have player hand 1 dot title, we should get wall. And if we do this dot card, can't read card.title. Oh, it's not this. It's just card.title. Wall. So these two are the same thing. And that's what we're checking. So what we could do is put a debugger in here. The way we do that is make it multi-line. We'll say we want to return this, and then we want to have console log. Oh, sorry, debugger. Just pause it. So now we can press play. We can have a look at another card. We can go to the next debugger. It should be here. We didn't make it. Is player true? Card details. Okay, if is player, then the index should be here we go. Index is -1. Card title is Charizard. What is the item title? So we could do console.log well, yeah, that's going to tell us both, sure. Okay, great. So it can't read the no, that's my, what the fuck? Okay, so here is the unit. Oh my god, I don't know. Clear this, start again, let's run it. We don't want to stop on the debugger. We want to see what's in the console. Nothing at all. Cool. Why doesn't this work? Okay, we're going to restart the debugger, refresh the page, withdraw a card, action this card. Okay, now we know it is the player. We know what the card is. I don't like this. What's happening here? Mutable reactive handler. Okay, so then we say if it's the player, we get the index and this .GameState.playerHand should be an array of the player's hand, right? And it is an array of 1, and it has a title of wall, and is unit. A wall is not a unit. Great. So what I'd like to know is what is the index of that. So we're going to run, and now we should be able to look at index, which is -1, because this is not returning true. Is that how it works, index of item? Or do you just, you don't give it an item? Oh my god. Okay, that's fine. I've fucked that up, that's my bad. The mistake I made was, this shouldn't have, I don't know how index of works. It's a mistake. View array JS index of, how does it work? What if it's an object? Alright. Find index might be what we need. Find index instead of index of. What? Is that right? Was it? It was index of before, yeah. And now it should be find index. Now we should get these things. I don't think we need any of this because it's gonna just run fine and magically, I think. Yep. So now, if we say, so we remove a card, we click on the card, and we should be able, it should be removed, and what? Nothing. Just console logged what we removed in the hand. Undefined game state. Cool. We can fix that. So we're referring to here. This is very confusing. This .GameState.playerHand find index. Okay, we remove the card, we click on the card, we've got a removed card that is the wall, and we've got the new array which is 0. Perfect. Now what we need to do is put that removed card into either attack or the empire. So the way we do that, let's remove the debug guard. Yeah, we don't need these comments. So removed card should be put in attack or defense, depending on if the player is a unit or not. Okay, so we're going to say if card dot is unit, what we want to do is game state player field push a card. Okay, that's pretty close. Not player field, but fuck, it should be attack or defense. So we can move it to the battle, and if it's not attacking, if it's not defending, then it is obviously attacking. I think that works. So then in our game state, we need to consider a battlefield, and this can have like an attacking, a defending, and we also should know, like, where are these cards coming from? Who owns them? Is it the player or is it the AI? So the way it would work is I take out a card. I want to play Charizard. If I click Charizard, it's going to go to this field. Now, if it's the first card there, it should be obviously an attack card. And it should be that if we want to know who owns the card, we can just see whose turn is it. Is it the player's turn? Then they own it, because you can't do it if it's not your turn, right? And if I guess if it's not your turn, no, if it's your turn and there's already an attack card there, then you defend, right? So then, do we want to have an array for the battlefield where the first item in the array is always attacking and the second item in the array is always defending, or do we want to explicitly say attack, defend? I think maybe we want to keep it as simple as possible, so I'm going to keep it as an array of 2, right? First one, attack, second one, defend. Okay, so battlefield. Oh, look at this. Player mana, opponent mana. How clever. Okay, so when we remove a card from the player's hand, we want to put it in. Why are these all open? Close all of them. In the game, when we have the method handle player card, assuming we find the card, we cut the card out and we're going to put it into battlefield if it's a unit. If not, we're going to put it into the player empire or the opponent empire. So we want to say like, shit. Yeah, I really want to, I don't want to do another if else. Player empire. Yeah, I'd really like to, well, I guess we can separate them and say player, and they can have theirs or the opposition. So then we can change this data structure in game to, instead of have player hand, opponent hand, blah blah blah, we have so we have player, and then we have player deck, or I don't know if this is going to be right. Yeah, it is. Cool, look at that. Okay, I like this a lot. Because yeah, it's going to break everything, but what it means is now we can say like is player, and we can just put this into the I'll show you in a sec. Yeah, so shit, I want it instead of is player, I think I want it to say a string of either player or opponent, because then we could say like like this game state dot example. An example could either be a string of player or a string of opponent, and it's coming from here. So it's either going to be player or opponent. And so I don't want it to be is player. I don't know what to call this. If you have any ideas, please sing out. Let me know. I think location. No, it's not right, is it? It's. I guess we could call it player, and then we could turn this to be like human and opponent, right? But I want to say like there's a player and there's a computer. And you're always playing against the computer, right? I don't know how to talk through something like this live. Yeah, so if you also have advice on that, I'm keen to hear. So, handle draw card should say where are we drawing from. It's the location of where we're drawing from, which can mean player or opponent. That's why we've got location. But really what I want it to do is handle draw card player 1 or player 2, right? So we can do that. We can just replace player 1, player 2 with like player 1. I guess players could be an array and it could just be a number, I guess. Is that easier or harder? I don't know. So then we have players. We have an array. So this way we're going to have multiple players, and we're going to say like, is it player 0 or 1, right? I think that's more similar to boardgame.io. So let's do that. So then we're going to say like player's turn, which will be a number, right? 0. And the options of player turns will be a limited array. Oh my god, fuck me. So end turn will now have to see what player is it and move it to the next player. And if there's no next player, we'll move it to the first player. That's not so bad, but yeah, better to do it now. So handle end turn, instead of this, which is very simple, we're going to say player turn we're going to say is player turn +1 equal to or less than the number of players. If it is, we're going to just +1. If it's not, we're going to go back to the start. Okay, so if player's turn +1 is equal to player length, then player turn equals 0. Otherwise, yeah, I mean that's way too easy. Why did that? Cool, great. Yeah, it's pretty easy with the the code assist, particularly when you're working on a new. This is code suggestions I'm using from GitLab. It's pretty useful when you're starting something from scratch. It's yeah, I'm surprised at this. Okay, so player number. Right, so when we end the turn, so now it allows for more than two players. We don't need to, but what I really want is to know like whose turn is it, right? And I want that turn to be a number. And when we draw the card, instead of the player number, instead of is player, we're gonna say when we draw the card, we're going to say whose turn is it, and then we're going to say players, and then player turn, because you can't draw a card if it's not your turn, right? So this game state, we look at the players, we look at whose turn it is, and then we take that hand and we push this a card from the deck, from the player turn deck, right? And then because we're using this so often, we're going to put that into a const. So const player is equal to, oh my gosh, is equal to game state dot players player turn, right? And then we can say player okay, so we get the player, and we find the player by saying this dot game states players, and we get the player's turn. So we call it like current player, I guess. It's a little bit easier to read. So current player dot hand. We're going to push into the hand player dot deck dot pop. So the first card off the deck, or the last card. I don't know. It doesn't make a difference. We're going to have to shuffle them anyway. It doesn't matter if you draw from the bottom, draw from the top. I don't care. Alright, great. That's good. That's clean. It's a lot cleaner. Handle player card. So now what we're going to do is we're not going to get the name of the player. We're just going to get the card details. I'm jumping around a bit. I'm not testing this just yet. I'm pretty confident I can fix it, so that's why I'm not testing it so thoroughly now. Okay. Alright, so when we click on the card, we don't check who's the player is, right? What we do is we get the current player like this, same as here. So current player, and then we get the index of the player's hand. So current player dot hand, find the index of that card, which is the same title of the card. The first one. Maybe there's more than one, doesn't matter. I just need the first one. We only want to remove one card at a time. Then we're going to do remove the card from the player hand, current player dot hand, and we're going to, if the card is a unit, we're going to push it to the battlefield, and if the card is a not a unit, we're going to move it to the player's empire. So the player's empire, we need to do like this, current player dot empire. For the battlefield, we're just doing this game state dot battlefield, right? So either way, we're here we're removing the card, and here we're placing it into the battlefield, or we're placing it into the empire. And we're going to get rid of this. So now our logic is a lot tighter, it's a lot smaller, it makes a lot more sense, it's way easier to read. I don't like this still. It's just error handling. So what I might do is like, if oh, sorry, I've got a delivery. Okay, hey, welcome back. Okay, let's keep going then. So, when we handle the card, we're going to take it from the player's hand. We're going to remove it from the player's hand here. We're either going to put it in the battlefield or into the empire. That's the only options. Now, because we changed the structure of the game data, a bunch of things need to change. Not this. This shouldn't have to change. Already included a file name. Confused. What's happening? Yeah, everything's broken because we changed the data structure and we didn't update anything else. So player's deck comes from here, and that's totally fine. Why is Battlefield not working? Is this an error for me or for someone else? It's saying it should be... It's the wrong casing. Is Battlefield one word or 2 words? It's 1 word. Not that it should matter, but matters here. Okay, well at least we don't have error now. Oh, was it a problem because that's the same? I need to update this as well. How frustrating. Yeah, what's the problem there? Okay, fine. That all works. It's all fine. So we're passing the game state to the player side. Now, in the player side, this is different. So this is actually player 1, or like the first one, dot deck. And this can be replaced with a player number, current player number, or player number. So the view of the player number, right? So the human should be player number 0, and the opponent should be player number 1, right? I think that makes sense. If you have any other opinions, let me know. Oh, we've got another follow. Thanks so much for the follow. I appreciate it. I think I missed you, but anyway, welcome anyway. Okay, so we still have some errors. We're going to do this. We're going to have a player number. I want a better name for this because I'm going to rename this from player side to... Well, shit, I really want a different view for the opponent, right? So the player side can be player number 0 for now, okay? Maybe we'll reuse this component, maybe we won't. Excuse me. Alright. Is player, I think we changed. I don't know what to. Current player. And we just get the player's turn. So the player's side, we don't need to know if it's the player's turn or not. I think that's what it means. We don't need this. We need to know if it's the player or not to change our layout. And for this, yeah, I'm going to say player number is 0. And that way we can use player number here, right? That's better, slightly. Player number shouldn't be a boolean but a number. This still works. It's the player's side. the player's side has a player number. When you draw the card, we don't need to know whose turn it is. Sorry, where it's coming from, because we just need to know whose turn it is. When we play a card, we just need to know what the card that's being played is. We're going to infer the information from this. We're going to infer the information on who played it or who drew it by knowing whose turn it is. Okay. Alright, so this one is going to change as well. We're going to have player number, empire. Would be great if we could shorten this, but I don't know how we can. Yeah, it would be great if we could just shorten this to be like the player. But then we'd need a separate data, and I don't think it's worth it, right? Maybe it is. So the way that would work is we'd have data, yep, great, player. Oh, look at that, fuck yeah. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So now we just need player.deck. Oh, so much cleaner. This is the first time I really enjoyed working with like a code editor assistant. This is really great. Okay, cool. And then here as well, we want player hand, player.hand. So for item in player.hand. Yeah, that's great. And then here's a problem. I don't know what this problem is. Cannot read property of undefined, reading 0 on player's side. Line 20. Because I think I don't know if I need this. Maybe we do. I guess so. Is the structure correct here? So we have the game, which has game state, players, because there's multiple. Players returns the player. That's better. Look at this. Does this work yet? No, but that's fine. At least we're getting it rendered. Alright, so now cards in the deck is displaying properly. Look at that. If you click cards in the deck, we get draw card. What draw card does is it emits a draw card function. Draw card function is heard and actioned with this method. Handle draw card. Welcome if you've just joined. I'm working on, so I'm James. I usually work on GitLab. I'm trying to stream my everyday job, but I'm on holidays, so I'm practicing and I'm streaming the development of this game. It's called Empire of Cards. Here's the original, empireofcards.com. It's my original. I own the domain. When we rebuild it, we're going to replace this. This is a really fucking terrible UI, so please, no judgment on that. Okay, we'll go back to it. So what I'm currently trying to do is I just rewrote the logic of the game state, and I'm just rewriting these bits. There should be current player. So the current player is the game state, players, player turn. So if it's player 0, if it's player 0's turn, then the current player is this .gamestate players, player turn, right? This is an array of players. So the current player dot hand push, that should be fine. So now if we click it, it should go to the hand. Player turn is not defined. What is player turn? Player's turn. Okay, we haven't defined player's turn anywhere because it's in game state. So it should be this.gamestate.player's turn. Yeah, that's better. And should it be player turn or player's turn? Player turn. It might also be current player. That's a much better name for it. So if we're doing that, then we change this to current player, and then we also need to change player's turn to current player. So anything that says player's turn should now be this. Current const. Oh, I think we can do this. Current player out of this.gamestate. Oh yeah, look, it auto-filled it for me. 1, 2, yes. Okay. So if current player plus 1 is equal to players.length, so in this case we have 2 players, right? So current player should equal 0 plus 1, player's length is 2 players. So yeah, so if we're on player 1 and we add, which is 0, 1, so it's the second player, and then we add 1, we get 2, and players.length is 2. So that's the way this works. So then we change the current player like that. Great. Way easier. Current player is equal to this well, I don't want it to be called current player because then it's the same thing. We can just say player, I think. The player is the current player. Yeah, that works better. So now, does it work? It does work. So if you click on player's deck, it removes it. Next thing we're going to do is play the card. We're going to click on it, and we're going to get an error. Player turn is not defined. Perfect. So now we're going to fix this broken method. Handle play card. So what this does is it takes a card, which is the card that you've clicked on. What we're going to do first is we're going to find out who is the current player. And we're just going to call them player. Because the way we're getting it is we're getting the game state players and we're getting the current player. Now, the index will be index of the card. We're going to call that card played index. Card played index is player.hand find index. Okay. Now, if the card index is equal to -1, then we want to console log an error. Console dot error. Card not found in hand. Oh my god, this is so fucking cool. Look at that. And return. Because then, like, it's a nice little piece of code that just handles the errors, right? So then we say, like, this is for error handling. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's for error handling, but what I would like to do is make this repository to be accessible by, I want it to be open source, right? And I want it to be open source and made for beginners. So I'm just naming the error handling. That's why I'm doing it. All right. So what is this? We already did this here, right? So we're going to remove this line. We're going to get the removed card, which will be player dot hand dot splice index 1. So we know what the card played index is. So we're going to cut it out of the player's hand, and then we're going to hold onto it, and if it's a unit, we're going to put it into the battlefield. If it's not a unit, we're going to put it into the empire. Now, could we? I don't know if this works or not. So what I'd like to do is replace battlefield. I would like to replace these lines with one line, which would say like const location sorry, bear with me 1 second. I just got a notification. I'm not sure if it's for me or not. I think no, it's okay. Alright, so what I'd like to do is define a location string. So like a destination rather, destination is equal to so if card is a unit, battlefield, else empire. So now I can do like this, and hopefully it's going to be easier to read. Oh, we don't need that now. Okay, cool. So now what it does is it takes a removed card, takes it out of the hand, it gets the destination, and it puts it in the destination. Removed card 0, no, removed card. Okay, so now what should happen is, I don't think we'll actually be able to display it yet, but what should happen now is, hang on, I'm really struggling to manage like Discord and Twitch and YouTube, and so if you have advice, please, I'd love that. But yeah, anyway, let's continue. So now what should happen here is we withdraw a card, we action a card, card not found in hand. Great. Okay, that's why we did the error handling. So now we know there's an error. Now, it's probably just because we've changed some things around, but let's find out why. So what I expect to happen is we get to know who is the current player. So the current player should be player 1. I mean the human. So there's only, it should be 0, right? So if we refresh, we're going to withdraw a card. Debugger is in player card. We've still got this unpaused. Okay, cool. So now we can read through our code. Why is this an error? Yeah, okay, great. So what I'd like to know is where do we get stuck? So if we move along to the debugger, now the player is an object that has a deck and they have a hand. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to look in the player dot hand. So card played index is equal to player dot find the index where the item title is the same as the card title. So the card title is wall, and the items in hand are let's see, player. Can we read that? Player dot hand. Oops. It's an array where it has an item where the title is wall. So there's only one item, and it's that. So maybe we can try running this in JavaScript, but instead of card title, we want to say wall. And what do we get back? 0. Okay, so that is working. It's finding the first one. But if we say instead of can we access card dot title? Oh my gosh, title undefined. Interesting. So why is that undefined? We have card here. We should have card defined. There it is. Card dot title. And what's in it? Why does that not work? Anyone have any ideas? And this is a mutable reactive handler. Card is a proxy object. Can we read card is unit? No. I mean, it needs to be capitalized, but no. I don't know why that is. Maybe because when we do handle play card, yeah, this is what it's doing. When we say this, play card from the player's side, we're giving card in an object because it used to be, we're giving multiple things, now we're not. So let's turn off the debugger, play wall, great, it's disappearing, that's all I really want. Yeah, perfect, great. Okay, so back in game, when we say handle the player card, when we run it, here's our debugger, we take the removed card, and then we move it to the destination. So here we get cannot read properties of undefined push handle playing card. Okay, so this is undefined. Cool. So maybe this doesn't work as well as I thought it would, or in the way that I thought it would. Let's have a look. So we'll turn on our debugger tool again. So if we okay, I don't need to know this one, I just want to stop on this next debugger. Here it is, great. So destination is battlefield, right? So what I'd like to know is, can I read this? Okay, well that does work. and we can push something to it, right? Like it's an array. Push. Two? What does that mean? So if we look at the destination, we'll see we have an array of 2. The first one is a proxy object, which will be our card. The second one is the string test. Cool. So it did work. So now if we say card wall, it should go into the empire. Let's see if there's any. Yeah, it's having a problem here. Cannot read property of undefined push. Which is undefined? Remove card or this? We can console log it. That. Oops. Yeah, I want to know which is undefined. Is it game state destination or is it remove card? Okay, they both exist. Oh, so something's running this before anything else, right? So we handle the card, now we have a problem. Let's read these. Unhandled error during the exercise. Okay, unhandled error during execution of native event handler. I don't know what that means. What's the problem here? So on the player's side, when we click a card, we send the details of that card. That makes sense. And both of the... Oh, so it's just the first time that doesn't work. Oh, maybe because it... Is the battlefield not an array or something? Is the empire not an array? Yeah, the empire is not an array. Empire doesn't fucking exist. That's cool. Now it does. Sometimes it just feels so dumb when coding. It's very frustrating. Okay, now it works. So the problem is it's not being displayed. So what I need to do now is display the cards in the empire. At the moment, I'm only going to do the titles, right? So we have here is our game. We want our players side. Excuse me. If you've just joined, welcome. My name is James. I usually work on GitLab. I'm a front-end engineer, but today is my day off, and I'm working on this. I'm rebuilding this terrible card game I made a few years ago into something that's hopefully less terrible. All my design is being done by ChatGPT, so maybe it'll be the same or different kind of terrible at least. Okay, so here, this is how we display the player's hand. We publish a card for every item in the player's hand. When we click that card, we want to do play card, and we want to give it the card details. For an empire, different. What we want to do is we want to publish or render a card for each item in the player.empire. And we've defined the player here. And the details just be the item. This should be the same. So let's practice putting cards into the player's empire wall. Okay, so it's not going into the player empire still. Alright, so when you draw a card, when you play a card, the problem is it's not going to this destination, which is either battlefield or empire. This is what it should be. Battlefield, empire. Okay, cool. Doesn't make sense to be empire because it also needs to be in the player's hand. Great. So let's remove this. We're gonna change destination back to is unit. Yeah, and so we're just going to get card is unit, right? So we're going to say okay, if card dot is unit, what we're going to do is we're going to put it into the battlefield. Yeah, this is so cool, this auto filling. That's so great. So this is the game state. We get the players, we get the current player, we push it into the empire, but we already know the current player, so we can just refer to player and not this whole bit, player.empire.push, remove card. So if the card is a unit, it's going to go into the battlefield. If it's not, it's going to go into the player's empire. We need to refresh because we only have one, the wall. Cool. And destination is not defined. Great. I forgot that was still there, so that's alright. And we should be able to see it here. Okay, this is pretty close. Like, we know that it's got an item in there, it's just not rendering it, so that's okay. Yeah, it's a lot closer. We're a lot closer. So now we're going to again look at the player's hand. Details is the item. This is the same in hand as it is in empire, so we should be able to see it in here, but we can't. So what we can do is look at this game state. I don't know if we can do this when we're no, we can't. Yeah, what I'd like to know is what is in the player's empire. This is a really handy thing on what is it called? Boardgame.io. You could just test to see, like, show me all of the details of the game state, which I guess we could also do here. In the game, we can just display the game state. Like, it's gonna look shit, but yeah, well, just for debugging, we're going to keep this here, right? Okay, so current player in the deck, they have 2 cards. In the hand, they have nothing. And in the empire, they have a card with wall. Unit is false. Okay, so oh, maybe it's not. No, hang on. Let's have a look in the card itself. So we've got this Boolean value that we aren't using. but it defaults to true anyway. And so what we're going to use that for later is we're either going to show the face up of the card or the face down. Yeah, so this, I don't understand why this isn't displaying. We could look at the view dev tools, I guess. Okay, so we have the player's side, we have the deck, and here's a card. In the card, it has an array. The details is an array. Oh, because... Wait. Hang on. So in the game, when we push the removed card, this is an array. Well, that's fucked. Why is removed card an array? Alright, now we try. Wall, wall. Cool. Alright, so the problem was that splice returns an array. So you can tell that here by it's any, where before it was an array of any, right? So we want it to be any, we want it to be an object. So now we can move our wall into our player's empire. Next, what we want to do is move our attack card into attack card. Yeah, I might do this and then probably call it a day, really. It's been a few hours. So, okay, so for this part, what we want to do, gosh. Why is this an error? I don't think it should be. What? I don't understand. Already included file name battlefield differs from the file name something. It's only casing. The file is in the program because I don't know why. Let's Google this. Okay. Alright, should it be open with a capital or not? We're going to follow the GitLab code base as our reference. And here, everything, that's even more fucked. It's got an underscore in between it. But we're going to follow that because this whole exercise is designed to be a learning experience for you and for me also, but primarily for you to learn how GitLab works. So this is a more simplified project than GitLab, and I'm hoping you'll be able to contribute to this while you learn how to code. And then once you're pretty good on coding, we'll move you from this project to GitLab, and then from GitLab you'll have some professional experience and you'll be able to get some fucking awesome job, get some experience, and then come back and work at GitLab. That is my plan. That's my overarching plan of world domination. So now you know. cool. And what I'm gonna do is update when we pull these in. This should be battlefield. This should be opponent side. This should be player side. Opponent. Turn. Control. Alright, what the fuck now? Just gonna reopen code and see what happened. It seems fine now. It's fine. Card and deck. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I really need to quit code and open it again to get rid of the error. Lucky it doesn't take long. That's shit. Cool. All right. So, cool. What I would like to do is I would like to get the if I play a card from my hand, I'd like to see it in the attack card. Yeah. So on the player's side, so we're going to look at the battlefield. And what I want to know is, like, does this already have a import? I don't think so. So on the game, we render the battlefield and we pass it the game state. It's the same as we do on the opponent side. So I'm going to take this props, and I'm going to look at the battlefield. Why is this? Where's that error? Still here. Fuck you. Default. Is that how this works? Is that how it's supposed to work? Export default. Oh. And then props. What's the issue with this? A module cannot have multiple default exports. Well, it doesn't, does it? Shouldn't have set up. Alright, so in the game, it takes a game state, and then so it's displaying a attack card. Yeah, I quite like this default. So what I'm going to say is, like, if it's empty, leave that. I don't fucking know. I'll just put the card in here, right? So now I need to import cards like I do on player side, and I need to list it as a component. Come on. Oh my god. Okay. I don't need the deck, I just want a card. And I want to run a card for every, no, I want to, on on the player's side, this is where I have a card like this, right? So on the battlefield, I want to do the same thing, but instead of for each player in the item, I want to do details is game state. Maybe I need data as well. Which should say attack. Oh my gosh. The attack card is actually, yeah, that's pretty good. Computed item, nah, just like that, it's fine. But instead of null, what it's going to be is game state dot battlefield the first item, and the defense will be the second item, right? So the details will be attack card, and defense will be defense card. Okay, so now we should be able to put Charizard up in here. Alright, so Charizard didn't render. Let's try to work out why. We'll look at our errors first. That's a lot of errors. Because we're not running the server. Oh my god. I've got a real fuck setup. I'm going to need to get help on the setup. Because at the moment, it's just, it's not going to work. Okay, game state is not defined. Yeah, should be this stop game state. Yeah, so when we're in the script part, we need to reference this. And then we're saying there's no title. Okay, so if there is an attack card, display the attack card, right? V if attack card. V if defense card. Right, so this should be like, it's only going to show it if it exists. Charizard, go there. Alright, so that didn't work. If attack card dot title, how about that? I'd like to know what is attack card and defense card in this current state. So I'm going to have a look at view DevTools here. I'm going to have a look at the battlefield, I think. So we've got a game state with an array of players, and we've got a battlefield with an array of objects. So now we have an object in the battlefield. We have two objects in the battlefield. We have Charizard and we have a horse. So the first one should be attacking. So the attack card is undefined. Okay, let's have a look and see if we've spelled everything right. So we have game state and battlefield. Yeah, that's spelled right, isn't it? Yeah. So that should work. This.GameState.Battlefield, correct? This.GameState.Battlefield zero. Okay, let's do a debugger. here when we're opening this up, and then we can read this the value of this and see is it there or not, right? Well, they look pretty good to me. So now the attack card should be just that. That's all. Okay, and then oh great, it does work. Cool. Look at that. Attack card Charizard, defense card Horse. So now if we refresh, the game doesn't make any sense at the moment, but it's okay. We're really just trying to make bits and pieces work. So the wall goes into the Empire, Charizard. Supposed to go into the player's hand, but it doesn't. Because this is initialized to nothing, and then it doesn't keep up to date, I guess. Yeah. Well, let's just do it like this. I think that'll work easier. There's less lines of code as well. Maybe it's not so bad. Alright, we've got some errors. Cannot read property, reading title. Oh. Should be 0. Okay. And then, oh my gosh. Omit options is broken somewhere. Unhandled error during execution of scheduler flush. This is likely a view internals bug. Let's just refresh then, huh? Let's get our 3 cards. Charizard, attack. Wall, player Empire. Horse, defend. Fucking perfect. Look at that. Cool. Let's leave it there for the day. That's pretty good. So I'm just going to call this general setup. Eventually we're going to get better at doing commits properly, but not today. Yeah, commit all that and then just fucking push it. Let's go. Great. So if you want to keep up to date with this, let me publish the Empire of Cards GitLab. So here is my GitLab account. Here are my personal projects. Empire of Cards. You can totally read this. It's open source. You can even contribute if you want. It's obviously not ready to be contributed towards, but yeah, welcome anyway. Cool. Okay, thanks so much. Nice to have you on there. Thanks for the new subscribers. It's been great. Thank you.